Hi, welcome to episode 2 of TcMenu Update. Today we're going to cover ThemeBuilder and widgets, and again, today's episode is brought to you by Dave TCC. Let's have a quick update on 4.5 before we move on. So there's some major plugin improvements. I think you'll find that plugins now will be written a lot more frequently and updated. The Preferences API is now available and eInk displays are supported. But let's move over to TcMenu and let's take a look at some of the changes straight in here. So you can see we now support eInk displays. We use a fairly well-known GX-EPD2 library, which seems to work very well with TcMenu. Something to bear in mind, these displays are very slow. So they're mainly for information with minimal editing. There's an eInk theme, and you can see a picture of the eInk theme actually running on the board. That is exactly what it looks like, pretty much by default. And let's say that we wanted to change the display. We can now search in here. And let's say we wanted UHG2, we can search in there as so. But we don't want to do that, so we'll leave it as it is. Also, just while we're on this page, you can change the EEPROM now, and you can see here that we are using the ESP32 preferences support. So lastly, very briefly looking forwards, we're looking to provide at least some basic AI integration for creating menu structures. More on that in a video shortly. And also we're looking at ways to improve the performance of the slower screens, that's the slower ITC and eInk displays on larger multi-core boards. But again, there'll be more about that in a future update. So coming back to ThemeBuilder now, one of the large improvements in TcMenu recently that probably wasn't publicized very well is ThemeBuilder. And ThemeBuilder uses a C++ builder syntax to customize the way things will be drawn. So what can you do with ThemeBuilder? You can adjust the general drawing settings. You can adjust the way that the title will be drawn. You can adjust the defaults for all menu items, and you can override drawing for a submenu or a single item. And then examples of where you might use it is to draw a specific item differently, draw a whole submenu in red. I mean, there are reasons why you might want to use the override. But before we can move on to ThemeBuilder, we've got to understand how TcMenu uses palettes. So most menu items have a 4-color palette assigned to them. And the way that those palettes work is that the first entry in the palette is the text color, the second entry is the background color, the third entry is the highlight color, so that's used by images and buttons, and then lastly there's an extra color, and that's used by borders, and sometimes it's used by slider items as well. So if we move forwards, we can see here that on the right hand side some code is shown, and this is the general code. This is what ThemeBuilder code always looks like. And you can see, I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but we configure it and we tell it to take its dimensions from the renderer, actually the underlying drawing system, and then we tell it that we want some padding on all items. We want to draw the title on the first row. We want a palette, as we just discussed. And we are using TC Unicode in this case. It's up to you if you decide to use TC Unicode. We covered that in the last video. And we set a font. We set the spacing for it. And this gives us the standard low resolution cursor icons. So dependent on your screen resolution, we've defined some low resolution and medium resolution icons, and they appear on the left of menu items if you enable that support. So before we looked at the defaults, the settings that apply to everything, now we're going to look at how we go about overriding the drawing for specific parts of the system. For example, we can see here we override the way default action properties work, and then after that we can continue to use functions just like we did before. You can see here we've used with justification, but we could use most of the methods that we looked at on the previous slide with the default action properties as well. And the same with the default item properties. So the default item properties apply to all menu items, and the default action properties apply to submenus and action items. Lastly, we can also override for a specific menu item or even a submenu. You can also override for a submenu as well. So if you want to draw a specific menu item a different way, you can see on the bottom left the way that you would go about doing that. In this case, for our special item, it has a bigger border, it has a different palette, and then we apply it. So I'd like to just quickly go through actually what a theme file looks like once it's been generated. So at the top, we can see the two palettes that we discussed before, and then we see an apply theme method here. This is called during menu setup, and this is where we actually configure the drawing. So we do some general purpose settings that apply to everything first. Then we do some specific title properties, which will only be for the title. And then likewise, we use the default item and action properties to adjust the item and action items. So setting a theme in TcMenu is as straightforward as just selecting the display that you want to use. The technology of that display will drive what kind of theme you can pick with it. For example, a mono screen, TFT, eInk will all have different theme requirements. And then once a theme's chosen, the code generator will create the theme file for you, and that theme file will contain a theme builder. And unlike other generated files, the theme is not automatically updated. So if you want it regenerated, you delete the file and it will recreate it. Title widgets are small monochrome bitmaps, and they typically present themselves on the right-hand side of a menu title. All the bitmaps in a widget must be the same size, and each bitmap must be in XBitmap format. So you can have as many widgets as you like, with each widget pointing to the next one. And you actually, the easiest way is just to use ThemeBuilder, and ThemeBuilder allows you just to keep adding title widgets to your design. And typical examples for these widgets are Wi-Fi status or system status. So in order to generate title widget bitmaps, we typically use a new screen that was added recently into TcMenu. And that screen is the native bitmap and title widget creation screen. So now we're going to switch over to TcMenu, where I have one that I prepared earlier. The only thing I did with this is loaded the two images in, set them both to XBitmap. And if we wanted to, we could edit these images. There's a very simple image editor built into this utility as well. We're not going to do that. We just name our title widget, and we say create the bitmaps on the clipboard. And lastly, we select create widget. And you can't see it because it came on another screen, but we successfully exported the bitmap. So the last step is to add the created title widget to our code. Given that we talked about the eInk display quite a bit today, let's take the demo or the example application for the eInk display, and let us add our title widget that we just created. So this is just pasted straight from the clipboard, and we can see that the generator tool created everything needed for the title widget. All the icon data, created the widgets itself, and it created the title widget. We can now add that directly in, and that's it. That's all we need to do. So the only thing we've done is created a theme builder. Theme builders are very lightweight. It's safe to create them on the stack like this, i.e. without you locally. We then add the Wi-Fi widget, which is one of the standard widgets. And then secondly, we add our widget that we've just created. So in the next episode, we'll cover bitmaps and buttons and multi-column drawing. And then following that, we'll cover card layout. And at that point, we should have gone through all the different ways to lay out a menu. Thanks for watching. As always, please do subscribe to our channel and like this video. And watch out for the next episode, which will be coming soon.